Hey everyone, welcome back to Coffee and Croissant with me, Christian Alphonse. Today I have a very special guest with me, my girlfriend Eden. Hey Boo Boo, welcome to the
Hi.
show.
Thank you for having me.
Well, I'm so happy to have you, first of all, and we have so much to talk about. Um, by the way, before even I get started about what we got to talk about, I gotta say sorry for the hiatus. I know I've been gone for the last 3 or 4 months. So all my listeners in Germany, sorry. I've been really busy trying to build my YouTube page. So definitely check out my YouTube if everyone's interested. I'm doing really cool stuff there with food reviews and food video and food vlogging. So definitely check out. Currently still editing a 4-hour video that I shot at a local restaurant here called Atelier, in which they make 44 courses. And it's kicking my butt. I think Eden knows how annoying.
Yeah, you've been working hard on it.
But it looks good. It looks good, and I think it's gonna be a really good start of this year. That being said, I'm gonna be still focusing on the podcast, and I'm gonna be pivoting. I'm gonna be pivoting the podcast from a weekly show to more of an investigative show, similar to what I do with my blogs, where I kind of write and make a review and discussion. I think that's more interesting to me, and I think this will bring a lot of value to you guys, the listeners. As well, as you guys can hear, there's been a big improvement on the sound quality of this show. Minor moves, but still
Woot woot.
major steps for me. So let me tell you guys what I've been up to the last few months. So I don't know where to start. I think Eden is gonna help me guide me through this journey. But I guess we're gonna start in November, because I think November was the last you guys heard from me on this podcast. So November was actually my birthday month, especially my birthday week. I went all out, and I went to Atelier to do a show. This is a show I previously said that's taking me forever to edit. But I also went to a spa here called Nordic Spa, and it was actually such a great time. I was so pampered. I was like a newborn baby. I was so relaxed. Holy, they took care of me there. Then I didn't do anything much exciting in November other than that, because I was getting ready to go to Puerto Rico for a family wedding, which didn't even have happening. And this is what today's show is going to be focusing about: traveling during COVID. Because I gotta tell you, things are a bit chaotic, especially if you're Canadian traveling abroad. So I think Eden will ask a couple of questions of me, but let me give everybody a bit of story about my journey to Puerto Rico. By the way, I didn't go to Puerto Rico due to this Omicron COVID, but I don't know how to start. First, I guess I'll say that there was been a back and forth in the family whether or not we should go. Eventually, we all decided to go, and we went by plane. And that was around the time where Omicron was just slightly taking over here in Ottawa, but it wasn't that big of a news overseas, especially in the United States. And our first destination was Florida. So we took WestJet. For those who don't know, if you're Canadian and you have to travel, you need very specific stuff. One thing is you might need if you're vaccinated is your proof of vaccination. You also might need to provide them where you're going, where you're staying, and how long you're staying. But I think those are just the basic requirements for traveling. And you might also need to show them, at the time, it was a rapid antigen. But actually, now I'm thinking about it, it could have been a PCR test.
It was probably a PCR.
Yeah, it had to be a PCR. Like, because this swabbed my nose. I swear to God, this swabbed my nose so much, man. I felt like I was a coke addict. It was crazy. They kept swabbing my nose, babe. I was like, what is going on here? Lucky for me, I was negative. But yeah, like, it was a PCR test. It needed to be negative. And it was so busy. And that was around the time where Christmas was up and running, especially people were trying for the holidays. So on my way there, the flight got canceled. Actually, it didn't get canceled. we missed the flight because our first.
You missed the flight?
Yeah, I guess I never told you that story.
I
huh?
didn't realize you missed the flight. I was under the impression that like there was some technical difficulty with the flight.
So
That's what you told me, Christian.
no, but I didn't lie. That's actually true. So we're catching 2 flights.
Right.
Our flight was from Ottawa to Toronto,
Right.
and from Toronto to Florida. We're flying with WestJet.
Okay.
What happened was the flight from Ottawa to Toronto, the plane kept on having issues.
Okay.
Like first, something was off with the wing. They had to defrost something. Then they were missing a lot of fuel because we were in the tarmac forever. And when we landed in Toronto, I still thought we had a chance to actually go and make our flight. And this is where I greatly screw up. I was flying with my parents. My parents, for people that don't know, I think people know.
They take their time.
They take forever.
Like any parent.
Holy. And yeah, and it took a while, and like, we were rushing it. For people that don't know, like if you're trying to get a connecting flight to the States, you need to go to immigration, and that's what really screwed us up because we had to pick up our bags, go drop it off at the immigration part of the airport at Toronto Pearson Airport, and from there we had to go through another screening process, and eventually we ended up missing the flight.
Okay, so it wasn't your fault.
It wasn't my fault, but it felt like my fault.
Yeah.
It felt like my fault, but it wasn't really my fault out of hand. And WestJet was actually very polite. They gave us some vouchers and gave us a free room. And the following day, we got our flight straight to Tampa. And on Tampa, I gotta say, the Americans in Tampa, I don't think they really understand there's a pandemic going on across the world because people out there were just loosey and goosey,
Well,
not
I
wearing
would
masks.
too if like I'm living in like a hot place or have access to a beach.
Oh, you think so?
Yeah.
Oh man, well, it was
Well,
strange.
I get it was strange, but like I'm not surprised. It's Florida.
Man, double mask Chris. That's who my friends call me as a nickname. And I was double masking, and people thought I was a complete weirdo having 2 masks on. Like that's gonna do something. And we went in Tampa, Florida, and I gotta say the weather was beautiful. It was nice. It was great to be far away from the cold and the snow of Ottawa, and it was such a blast. And on Tampa, the whole attitude of lifestyle that is completely different. And I know people who are so used to hear about Florida on the news, especially Florida man out and about doing some weird ass stuff. But Florida was the complete opposite of that. People were having a great time. We went to the beach often. We even spent some time in Sarasota, and it was such a blast to be. And for a second, I guess like within like my second day there, I completely forgot it was COVID. I was like, oh, I'm here having vacation with my family.
Well, didn't the numerous PCR tests that you had to take while you were there remind you that it was COVID?
Well, I remember that the next day when I took my PCR test.
Yeah.
I took a PCR test every 3 days, and I was negative every 3 days. Thank God.
And how long were you there for?
I was there for like about 2 weeks, so I spent Christmas Day and New Year's Eve. But in New Year's Day, New Year's Day, I came back here to Ottawa, and that was a really easy flight. But the reason why the whole purpose of our trip to Florida was to go to Puerto Rico. That was the
Dun, dun, dun.
main destination. And we got word that people in the family were sick, had COVID, but they were having no symptoms, and I feel a bit squeamish about it, so I didn't know if I was comfortable going or not.
So did I.
Yeah, Eden was like, "What are you doing?"
Yep.
But I think eventually we made a hard choice of not going, and that was a very tough decision to make because I would have loved to be with family. I haven't seen them for like forever, just to be in that grateful and joyous moment with them, and I missed it due to Omicron, and Omicron was such a pain in the butt. Like I feel like every time we're almost close with this pandemic, we're almost to the hurdle. What is it called? Hurdle immunity.
Herd immunity.
Herd immunity. Sorry, people. I don't know what English is sometimes. Like, I feel like we're right there. The next thing we know, we get a new boss, Omicron. Now there's a new form of Delta and Omicron. Next time I know, we're gonna run out of the alphabet of these new viruses. So, long story short, my trip back to Ottawa was a lot simpler. No connection flights, just a direct flight from Tampa to Ottawa. And I had no issues. Only biggest thing I was worried about is taking my PCR test, my last one, and making sure it was actually within the time.
Yeah.
Because you have to take a PCR test within the 72 hours of your departing flight. And it was the holidays. And it's hard to get people to do stuff for the holidays, especially if people want to spend time with their family during this hard trying time. I don't think I can remember of my last few days there was just me on the car went to get my PCR test outside the Orioles training facility in Sarasota. Orioles, like a baseball team from the MLB.
As in like the cookie?
Orioles, Orioles, like a bird, I think.
Oh, okay.
But those are pretty delicious. I wish I was outside the Oreos factory. The foodie I am. And yeah, the direct flight was a lot easier. One thing you need to know when you're traveling back, you need to have ArriveCan. They're really pushing it. And I did my ArriveCan very early. I submitted all my documents. I had to make sure I have copies of my negative PCR test, and just in case they asked me in the immigration border. And they didn't ask me any questions, to be quite honest. They didn't even tell me to quarantine.
Okay, I'm not surprised by that because I have a friend who did the same thing. Like, she had to do ArriveCan, flew to the States, had to come back to Canada, and like she was expecting them to be really like diligent in terms of checking your documents and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And it was complete opposite. Like, she just like went right through.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I was expecting to be like, oh, you gotta be quarantined for 14 days. Because just the way the news sounded crazy. Especially when I was away, the news about Ottawa felt like it was gangbusters, Omicron, like every single second. It was nuts.
Yeah.
It was literally nuts. So, like, Eden, like, talk to me about what it was like to be in Ottawa, because you were there for, like, a week? You went to Montreal and came back?
Yeah. Okay, so what happened with me? When you left for your trip, I was going back to Montreal to visit my family.
Mm-hmm.
I came into contact with someone who had COVID
Mm-hmm.
or tested positive, and then that led me to go and try to get tested. But as everyone knows, wait times and to get an appointment to get a a PCR test is crazy long. So I ended up waiting outside for 3 hours in the cold, to the point where like my sister and my father had to come and bring me extra pairs of socks and like extra gloves and whatnot. Ended up testing negative, but I was very adamant on coming back to Ottawa where I can like isolate and not be around people. So I spent a week here. Didn't really see many people, but that's just also my personality. And then you came back, and I was very adamant on making sure that you did not have COVID, because as much as I love you, I don't want that shit.
Who doesn't want that shit? It sounds like the boogeyman, the way the news talking about it, man. Like, Omicron, I was worried about Omicron.
I was very concerned.
Like, holy, the Omicron. Nothing sounds good with starts to the O. Other than Oreos. That sounds delicious.
Okay, so I don't know if people... Okay, I don't know if this is insulting to people who are Mormons, but their like leader came into contact with someone who had I don't know how to explain this, but like their foundational story involves an individual that has a very similar name to Omicron, and I just thought that was very funny. And that's just a tidbit that I like to share.
It's all good. It's all good, boo boo. But like, I gotta say, there's such a contrast between like Ottawa and Sarasota, but just a contrast between Canadians and Americans. Like,
yeah.
Like, I was just so surprised to see how carefree people were over there.
Mm.
They're just living with the pandemic like it's not a big deal. Like, honestly, but again, I don't know if that's just the Florida culture. Like, I'm assuming like I'm an island boy, like they say. Because from the islands, like you just take life as it is and you just go with it. But I had the same similar vibe with Florida. So I don't know if people have that vibe because they're at the beach, or they just didn't believe like it was a thing.
Maybe it's just like a reflection of their healthcare system, like to each their own, and ours is more so of like we have to like our government provides us healthcare, right?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's just that like people are like, well, I don't have the money to take care of myself, so I'm used to this. So I'm just gonna di la di da di da, and
You would think so, but when I did my PCR test, they were all free.
they're all free.
They were all free. All I had to provide them was some form of identification.
Okay.
And it was just given
Even
for
though
me.
you're Canadian.
Even though I'm Canadian, it's just showing my passport, free. They were giving out rapid testing as well, like it was candy. Like,
So interesting.
it's just that I think there's an overabundance over there in terms of testing, in terms of quality, and it's quite interesting to see because like people are talking about how the governor of Florida, DeSantis, is like doing like a bad job with running the states, and I do see the points they're saying, but I do understand the other side of people saying that like DeSantis did the right thing, just making it open for everyone. So I don't even know where I stand on this whole thing. I think it's just so interesting to see the contrast because here in Ontario, our premier Dougie Ford, Mr. Dougie, like I don't know, like every time I see him, he gets paler and paler. By the way,
Paler and paler. I think he gets redder. No.
you think so? I this guy has seen a ghost, and I don't know what he's up to now. But just to hear him talk about what to do with the province, it just seems as though like he's just out of ends, he's out of wits. Like he doesn't. People are saying that he's affecting small businesses, but that being said, small businesses will be affected the most throughout the whole this. It's not only the province is affected by small businesses, like some businesses across Canada are affected by this pandemic.
Yeah.
So they have no staff. They can't work long hours compared to major businesses. So I do understand people's problem with Doug Ford, but man, it's just a different way of living. And I don't know what else is going on. Like I guess people are following this whole Quebec. They want to put the no vax tax, which I think has a good ring to it.
Yeah.
But I don't think it should be done. Like, what do you think? I think it's nuts. Like, you shouldn't punish people that have concerns or doubts about the vaccine. Even though I do understand, like I'm vaccinated, I'm on booster shot, but
Which I scheduled.
yeah, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Like, I kind of feel a bit shitty after a booster, but not too shitty. But I think that people who are not vaccinated do have rights, and they shouldn't be infringed upon about this whole thing.
I think that's a perfectly fair statement, but just the idea alone of there being a tax, even like remember in Quebec how they were going to not allow people who are unvaccinated to enter like weed shops or SAQs, so liquor stores. It just bumped up vaccination rates. I don't think it's forcing people. I think the people that like signed up to get their first shot are just individuals that are maybe on the edge, as opposed. I don't think they're like anti-vaxxers necessarily. I think they were just people who were just like skeptical and they just needed that little push.
No, I'm so happy you said that. I don't think they're anti-vaxxers as well.
No, because anti-vaxxers are very adamant on being anti-vaxxers, and they will do everything to maintain that status as an anti-vaxxer.
Yeah, 100%. Like anti-vaxxers wear that with a badge of honor.
Yeah.
But so there's just people of like minorities, people who are in the fringe of society. They just want to like wait and see what happens.
Yeah.
Because they do believe in science. They just don't understand how you get all these vaccines.
They're called vaccine hesitant.
Ooh, there we go. That's the what I was looking for.
I think it's them, honestly.
You think so?
Them and like, no, I think it's them.
Yeah, man. I remember when I was trying to get my first dose, I was like fighting tooth and nail, trying to find any nook and cranny I can get a reservation to get my first few doses. Now I'm like, man, like I should just maybe chill and see what happened. Because like even Israel came out today, people are getting the 4th dose of vaccine and still getting Omicron.
Fun.
So it's not like it has been more effective or less effective with this new variant.
I think every vaccine you get just increases your immunity. Doesn't like and well increases your immunity, but also enables like decreases the chances of you actually being hospitalized, which is puts less of a strain on our healthcare system, which is already strained. But get vaccinated.
Yeah, I'll with you. Get vaccinated. Honestly, if I think get vaccinated is a lot better than not getting vaccinated.
Yeah.
It's a lot better. Like if you do end up getting the virus, people said it's like a cold. I haven't got it yet. Thank God.
Neither have I.
Thank God. Like, oh, someone's looking out for me. I swear to God, because I'm out and about. I'm out and about traveling, no issues. Eden's looking at me like you're a crazy one.
Well, that's because we have very different views on traveling during COVID.
I think if you're prudent, you should travel during COVID. In my personal opinion, just live with it. There's nothing you can do to get rid of it. It already exists.
Okay, well, at the point when you were leaving for your trip and leading up to the trip, because technically, like you had asked if I wanted to come, and I was like, no, that doesn't make any sense. It's gonna be peak holiday season, meaning there's gonna be even more people in one space, and I don't want to travel. That's how all of this started. And then I maintained that, and then you were like, nah, I'm going to Florida, and I'm like, fine, go to Florida, be cautious. But I'm still under, like, up until the point you came back, I was under the influence of like, okay, I'm not traveling. I'm just gonna stay put until all of this dies down. But now I'm more of like, okay, but like, I want to go on a plane. I want to be somewhere sunny, and it'd be nice. But at the same time, like, I don't want to like impact my health.
But like, and that's fair, Adam, to say because it's been 2 years.
Yeah.
It's been 2 years. Like,
yeah,
a lot of people's plans, people's lives have completely drastically changed to different trajectories now because of this whole thing. So I do personally believe if you're someone who has the means to and privilege to, go ahead and travel. Get out.
But be safe.
Be safe. Yeah, to a degree.
And also follow travel advisories.
Yes.
Yeah, don't be like the Montreal influencers.
The Montreal influencers. Yo, they were having a time at the plane.
Yeah. They were having a really good time. But at the same time, everyone on that plane was going to the same location. It wasn't like they were all strangers.
Yeah.
So I just didn't understand why there was so... I understand, like, it's a no-no. Like, the rule is that you wear a mask on a plane. But at the same time, it's not like they were like being exposed to randos. They all knew each other.
Yeah, 100%, and they were all invited to go together. I think it was like an influencer trip.
Right.
Most of them were young.
Yeah.
And for most of them, it's probably their first time out of the country.
I don't think so.
You don't think so? No, sorry.
No, I know Quebecers. They like going to Cancun. They like going to Cuba. They do it on a regular. Like, this isn't something foreign to them. Okay. And also some of them are like influencers that have been on reality TV shows and whatnot. So like opportunities to travel is just ingrained in that.
Okay, but what I meant to say, they haven't traveled within the last 2 years. Like, I think that's a fair statement. They've been angsty.
Well, we can't say they haven't traveled. The likelihood of them traveling...
Like, you think within 2 years they have traveled?
Probably.
You think so? Wow.
People were traveling this summer when
true.
Everything was like a little bit...
That's true.
It was much better, no?
That's true. People were out and about, and I was out here just looking at the sun.
But I think it has more to do, it's like from the perspective of like privilege. Mm-hmm. You're on a private plane, a private chartered plane. Yeah. You're being willy-nilly. You don't have a care for the health and safety of the staff on the plane. You're like drinking and whatnot. It's just not a good look. Mm-hmm. Essentially mixed with the fact that this happened during COVID.
But I gotta say, like, I do agree with you to that point, but like, I don't think they should be penalized for their whole livelihood, like for a lifetime because of this. Like,
Well, we're in a society right now where it's cancel culture is very, very high. So it's
I,
not surprising that they're being canceled. People have no patience for people anymore. Like you fuck up once, you fuck up for the rest of your life.
but you know what? That's so funny. I think that's a Canadian mindset.
Just don't fuck up publicly.
Oh, baby. But you know that doesn't exist in this today's days nowadays because everything's just recorded and videotaped.
True.
Like, people love to record themselves and they fail and they post it online.
Yeah. You probably get more clout for like fucking up publicly, like as a result of fucking up publicly and doing something like stupid, than you do doing something good.
Okay, babe, I agree with that point. I do agree with that point. But I still don't think they should be penalized for the life of your lifetime because, you know, if I was 18 years old,
They're not 18.
so some of them were 18,
I
some of them
don't
were
think
18 and
so.
19, some of them were 18 and 19,
Okay, well,
18 and 19, and some of them were not actually involved with the hooligans or the shenanigans that was happening on that plane, and they got bunched up with all of them, and now they're being penalized. I think they should get a fine, but I don't think they should be penalized for a lifetime for all this thing.
I also think they should get better PR because because like their responses are very much like there's like you can just tell it's someone who isn't capable of like communicating in a way that makes you seem remorseful, you know? And like it probably isn't intentional, but it's just because you don't have the mechanisms and the means to like frame a response in a way that is like touches on all the points. Because some of the responses that were coming out afterwards by like the organizer, by the individual influencers, I was just like, that doesn't look good. This doesn't help you. Like you're digging a grave.
Yep.
Anyways, that's just my thoughts.
But you just said like the not during this conversation, but before we got started, that they got like they broke the curfew or something.
Yeah, okay, so they were having a lot of trouble finding, I think, an airline that would like bring them back to Quebec. Because like Air Canada said no, Sunwing said no. So there's like all these memes and whatnot where like truck rental companies in Quebec were like offering their services to bring them back across the border with their trucks. I thought that was really funny. Anyways, so when they finally found a way to get back, but apparently some of them broke the curfew that was going on in Quebec, which just recently ended, and were fined on top of the fines that that they got due to the whole like influencer trip being maskless on the. But then the question is, did they end up in Mexico? Like, did they? Did they continue on partying and whatnot?
I think so. We're not gonna cancel the trip. If they're
So
already
the trip
canceled,
still happened.
if they're gonna cancel, why cancel the trip? Why not just commit the full send and just come back?
Do you think that video was posted in after like them partying and whatnot in Mexico, or literally? Oh shit!
Yeah, I think it was all during.
Wow.
Yeah, because it was a week.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie, the headlines were good, man. Like some of these reporters, holy. Oh wow.
But it was also like picked up like internationally,
Yeah.
and like I always love those moments where like something that's crazy, and it happens ironically in Canada, and everyone's just like, "What? Canada? You guys are so nice,
so nice, so well behaved,
so well behaved, so polite."
Yeah, man,
Sorry.
Little do they know. Little do they know.
We have wackos.
Well, they have Florida man in the States. We have Quebec man in Canada. But yeah, that's it. I think we should wrap up, babe. I don't know.
But wait, no, don't wrap up yet. Was it worth it? Like, was this whole trip worth it?
I'll say yes. It was worth it. It was worth it. To be quite honest, I don't know if I could spend more time in Canada. Like, I needed to like go somewhere and do a little travel, do a little bit of adventure. I was going nuts in this house, and luckily for me, I had the privilege and the means to actually go out and do a trip like this.
Yeah.
So for me, it was worth it. Einstein 2020, I didn't get any COVID. I didn't get any. I wasn't sick. I was able to see family and friends I haven't seen for the longest time. So, I think it was 100% worth it. That being said, if you're someone who's very scared and who's immunocompromised, I don't know if that'll be worth it if that's your case.
Like, honestly, it's more of like an individual situation about whether or not you're comfortable traveling. I don't think anyone should be pressured to do anything that they don't want to do.
I'll say this, though. Like, everyone that gets into the airport, especially if you're a Canadian airport, and you pass all the gates system, they basically don't have COVID if you really think about it, because they all got tested.
True, but then you're coming into contact. Well, yeah, that's a good point. Like, it probably is the safest place.
It's the safest place. The plane is the safest place to be in, to be really quite honest. The issue is that when you go to a country that doesn't have any good rules and guidelines to follow.
Yeah.
That's the issue.
Yeah.
That's the issue. I think they should just open her up. I think they should open Canada up. I think they should just open her up.
Well, that's what the airlines are saying, to remove the travel advisories.
Like, it makes no sense, because like if people should go, people should just be able to go about and spread some wings. I'm gonna share with you guys some stuff I actually got from an insider about what may be up and coming in terms of COVID regulations the next few days. So just give me 1 second here. But before I go, let me quickly plug all the stuff I'm up to. So I'm still working really hard on my YouTube channel. That's something I've been trying to grow and build the next few months, actually the next few years. So I really hope that everybody here who's actually interested in what I'm up to go ahead and subscribe to me on YouTube. It's my full name, Christian Alphonse. Also, I have an Instagram. I'm trying to figure out my content strategy for Instagram. It's taking me forever. Like, now I realize why influencers have a full team, or people have a full team, because just sticking like you need like a 20-person team to do all this. This is ridiculous.
Well, you need to get to a point where you can afford a 20-person. But I think in lead up to that, you're doing a lot of things solo.
I'm doing a lot of things to the low.
And you're working full time.
And I'm working full time. And I have a startup.
And you have a startup. And you're in a relationship. And you have family. And you have yourself.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. But yeah. But oh wow. Like, this is the first time I actually told to the crowd I actually have a startup. I'll actually talk to you guys about the startup later in this season. This is still season 1, by the way. I'm not gonna move to season 2. I think this show needs to have like at least 10 episodes at the very least for me to do season 2. Yeah. But I'll talk to you guys about my startup stuff. And I'm actually in the travel and tech space. Met some very cool and interesting founders in that space as well. And hopefully I'll be able to try to get them on so we can talk about the world of business of traveling. I think that'd be a very cool insight. But now I finally found what I was looking for. And let me read to you guys about some important travel restrictions for those who are traveling to Canada. So for foreign nationals, students over the age of 18, and the visitors, they need to be fully vaccinated after January 15th. There are very few exceptions to this rule, such as agricultural and food processing workers, marine crew workers, and those who are on compassionate grounds, new permanent residents, and resettling refugees, and some children under the age of 18. So there's also another change that's going to happen as well. The foreign nationals will be required to be fully vaccinated after February 28th in order to board a flight or train to leave Canada. That's a bit insane. To leave the country, you need to be fully vaccinated. And to enter the country, you need to be fully vaccinated.
Yeah.
Like, Canada's not playing around.
No.
Like, there's no joke here.
Well, if everyone wants this to end, do what you got to do.
I really want to know what Trudeau's going to do about this vaccine tax thing that's happening. I actually really want to know. Because, like, Trudeau hasn't said a word.
No, he said that, like he understands it. It's important to give people incentive to get to get their vaccine, but that like he looks forward to hearing some more information on like how this is going to be rolled out. And I think François Legault, the premier of Quebec, recently did an interview and he kind of elaborated on what it means, but I didn't have a chance to look at it.
I need to look at it. I need to know what Francois has to say about that, what his strategy is, because it did boost up people reservation.
300%.
It did boost it up. So something must be going on. Maybe, no, I'm not going to tell Dougie to do it. Dougie would be like a beer for every vaccine shot. That's Dougie.
He would. I don't think he would do it. I also don't think it would be smart from a public health perspective.
What, a beer a shot?
Well, like if they were to do the tax, okay, maybe that would make sense. But like if they were to do like close LCBOs and close all the weed shops, I think that would be that wouldn't be safe for some people who are dependent, at least on alcohol.
Hey,
because where else would they get it from?
Well, they can only get it if they're fully vaccinated. So
true, but if we're thinking about like demographics in terms of access to like getting vaccinated, let's say if you are precariously housed or something like that, or like you don't trust the system or something like that, like to then remove that source of like dependency that could just make someone spiral a bit. But anyways, I digress.
Okay. Well, add in with the logic. Meanwhile, Christian's like, let's go.
Yeah.
And there are a few more remaining items. So COVID-19 testing. So all travelers over the age of 5 must show an accepted negative COVID-19 molecular test taken within 72 hours of your departure of your final flight to Canada or your entry to Canada or proof of okay. This one is a little bit, I think everybody's already doing that. And this is something I was very surprised to, is the quarantine thing. So if you're unvaccinated and you're allowed to enter Canada, you'll be required to quarantine for 14 days. If you're fully vaccinated, you may be required to do a random COVID-19 test upon entry until they receive the negative test.
Yeah, you have to quarantine.
You have to quarantine.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That makes sense. That's already something that already exists. And we all gotta download a ArriveCan app, which is actually a good app. I'm not gonna the app. It's actually a good app. It's not the dumbest thing of an app of a government could ever make. It's actually very smart, very straightforward, and very straight to the point. But those are the few informations that I received, and those were changes that were made yesterday. Today's date actually is January 18th. I don't know, babe. I think we can wrap it up now.
Yep.
Well, anyways, thank you for everyone to be back listening to Coffee and Croissant with me. I really appreciate for those who've listened. Big changes happening to this whole content stuff. Hopefully you guys will like it. You guys can find me online. My Instagram is alphchris, ALPHCHRIS. I have a blog site called christianalphonse.com. Blog site, by the way, doesn't look active. Please believe me, I'm working behind the scenes to making it a better blog site with more of all my stuff that I've been up to.
Patience.
Well, patience to me, because I'm like scrabbling in my head. There's not a lot of time that they do all this. Then also on my YouTube channel, Christian Alphonse, you can find me eating delicious treats and me reviewing about it as well there.
That's cute.
Oh, it is cute. And is there anything you want to let people know? Don't people to contact you?
No.
Okay. Don't contact her, people.
Don't contact me.
Don't contact her. Don't annoy her. I really appreciate that you joined us with me, by the way.
My pleasure.
Thank you for being my guest. Anyways, people, take care. We are out.